Good evening. Welcome to you all to the Design Review Commission meeting on Monday, August the 23rd, 2021. I'd like to call the meeting to order. It is now at 6:30, and I'd like to call the meeting to order. The next order of business is to do the Pledge of Allegiance, conducted by Vice Chair Romo. Vice Chair, can you please help us through that?
Yes. Everyone put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Appreciate that. Clerk, please call the roll.
Chairman Chang,
Here.
Vice Chair Romo,
Here.
Commissioner Nadolny,
Here.
Commissioner Salo,
Here.
Commissioner Tu.
Thank you. We do have a full quorum tonight, so we can conduct the meeting. Tonight's meeting is live streamed on cable channel 3 and also our online platforms. So for the public, I'd like to share this. Please email all public comments to drc-public-comment@sgch.org. no later than the time that the item is considered by the Design Review Commission tonight. Comments received after the item has been considered will not be read into the record. Comments will be read by Assistant Erica Ortiz for up to 3 minutes each. To prevent any overlap in comments, each commissioner will be called upon to speak. Now we are item number 1, public comments. This is the time set aside to members of the public to address the Design Review Commission on items of interest that are not on the agenda, but are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Commission. Pursuant to Brown Act, the Design Review Commission cannot answer any question or take any action until such time as the matter may appear as an agenda item on future agenda. Assistant Erica, have you received any public comments?
No public comment, Chairman Chang.
Thank you. Then we'll go on to number 2, consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine, and recommendations will be approved in one motion unless a member of the Design Review Commission or public requests separate discussion. Any Design Review Commissioners want to pull any item for a separate discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I will go on to Erica again. Did we receive any requests from the public to pull any items?
No, we did not, Chairman.
Okay, so I'd like to entertain a motion to act on the consent agenda item, which is our approval of minutes for the July 26, 2021 Design Review Commission meeting. Do I hear a motion?
Yes, this is Vice Chair Romo making a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Any other commissioner want to second the motion? I'll second the motion.
This is Commissioner Nadolny. I will second the motion.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Nadolny. Any further discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, I'd like to call for the question. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Tu,
You're on mute, Commissioner Chu.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you. Commissioner Salo,
Yes.
Commissioner Nadolny,
Yes.
Vice Chair Romo,
Yes.
Chairman Chang.
Yes.
Motion passed. Vote is 5-0.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to item number 3, public hearings. I'd like to ask city staff to read the following, which is the, yeah, go ahead.
Thank you,
Samantha.
Chairman. Good evening. Thank you for participating and tuning into tonight's Design Review Commission meeting. My name is Samantha T. Wassart, Planning Manager with the Community Development Department. There is one public hearing item tonight. Copies of the agenda and the staff report for tonight's hearing are available on the city's website at www.sangabrielcity.com. If you wish to comment on any of these items and are not the applicant, please email the public comments to drc-publiccomment@sgch.org no later than the time the item is considered by the Design Review Commission tonight. Comments received after items have been considered will not be read into the record. Any decision made by the Design Review Commission tonight is appealable to the City Council. The deadline for filing an appeal application concerning a decision made tonight is Tuesday, September 7th. Otherwise, any decision made tonight will be effective on Wednesday, September 8th. If you wish to appeal an application, please contact the project planner for the applicable application and fees. For each item tonight, staff will provide a summary of the staff report, followed by comments from the applicant. Then the public hearing will be opened and the recording secretary will begin reading aloud the public comments that have been received during the hearing. Each comment will be read for up to 3 minutes. After the public comments are read, the applicant is provided the opportunity to rebut if they choose. Prior to the close of the public hearing, the commission may ask questions of the applicant, staff, or city architect. However, once the public hearing is closed, the opportunity for public comment has ended. Chairman, at this time, staff is ready to present item A.
Thank you very much. Item A is 317 Pearl Street, planning case number SPR 18-091, site plan review. If I may ask Associate Planner Anthony Alvarado to present.
Good evening. Thank you, Chairman Chang. Good evening, Chairman Chang, Commissioners. The public hearing item before you tonight is for a site plan review to propose a new 2-story single-family residence at the project address 317 Pearl Street, planning case number SPR 18-091. Slide number 2, please. The project site is located on the north side of Pearl Street between South Euclid Avenue to the west and Lafayette Street to the east. Slide 3, please. This slide shows an aerial view of the project site. The 8,204 square foot lot is currently developed with a 1,395 square foot single family residence and detached garage. The property is neighbored by other single family dwellings to the north, south, and east, and the Du Phap Temple to the west. Slide number 4, please. The property is zoned R1 for single family residential and has a general land use designation of low density residential. Slide number 5, please. After July 26, 2021, regular scheduled DRC Design Review Commission meeting, the Design Review Commission considered the proposed project for the new 2-story home and detached garage. However, at the meeting, a number of comments and concerns were brought up by the Commission that led to the project being continued to a date uncertain. And slide number 6 actually shows a list of those items. Just to summarize that really quick, a lot of it was due to the getting more information regarding the material. The front wall needed to or was recommended to be either stucco or painted. providing consistency with the ironwork used for the project, addressing the width and the proportionality of the planter boxes on the front elevation, providing those details for the windows, doors, and other exterior materials of the project, making sure that they provide permeable paving for the driveway, providing consistency for the eave detailings and consistency on the plans as it addresses the eave detailing. One of the big things was also addressing the interior floor plan, as it appeared that it could be possible for the potential to separate the units, so they wanted the applicant to look into that further. And part of that was also to remove the washer and dryer on the second floor. Slide number 6, please. This slide shows the front elevation as it was proposed at the July 26th DRC meeting to the left, and as it is proposed tonight on the right. The front wall has been revised to be a stucco material with the color that now matches the house, as well as having ironwork that is also consistent throughout. The width of the planter boxes has been revised to provide better compatibility functionality. Color material information was provided for the exterior material that to be used for the project. Eave detailing has been addressed to show a box eave, and the interior floor plan has also been revised to address the possibility or concern for any future subdividing by removing the second washer and dryer, removing a second glass patio door that was located to the rear, removing another side door, and removing 4 of the subwalls that were located in the large room on the first floor. Okay, can I go to slide number 8, please? This slide just shows a revised rendering of what the project site looks like with those changes made. Slide number 9, please. The proposed project still meets the San Gabriel Municipal Code requirements for setback, parking, height, lot coverage, and floor area ratio. The project provides setbacks that are within the requirements of the San Gabriel Municipal Code. Slide number 10, please. The San Gabriel Municipal Code requires a comparison of 1 versus 2-story homes within a 300-foot radius of the project site. The applicant has provided that survey as attachment C, and it currently shows that there are 11 properties within a two-story residence. Slide number 11, please. The land use designation is low-density residential, which would allow for the proposed project. The project also meets the following community design goal from the general plan, which is community design goal 10.3, which states it to create designs that live and breathe with San Gabriel's neighborhoods as they themselves live and breathe. Slide number 12, please. This project was reviewed pertaining to for the environmental review for CEQA and was found to be exempt from the requirements of CEQA per guideline section 15303 class 3 for new construction or conversion of small structures. Slide number 13, please. Since this project was continued to a date uncertain, we did have to notify or send out public noticing for this project again, and they were done in the following ways. We mailed out notices to the properties within the 300-foot radius, as well as having a revised sign at the project site, posted at the project site, a notice posted in the issue of the San Gabriel Sun, as well as having the agenda posted at the City Hall, Post Office, Library, and on our city's website. Slide number 14, please. So it is with that staff would like to recommend that the Design Review Commission adopt a resolution of the Design Review Commission of the City of San Gabriel, California, approving planning case number SPR 18-091 for a site plan review at 317 Pearl Street for a new two-story single-family residence, subject to the recommended conditions of approval. This will conclude staff's presentation. Staff is available for any questions, but I also wanted to inform the commission that we do have a couple of people here on the applicant team. We have Huey, the applicant, as well as Jeff and Billy representing the architect and assistant. And we have Keith, who is assisting with the landscape design. We are all here if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. Questions for staff. I'll start with Commissioner Tu. You have any questions for staff?
Yes, I do have a question. I wasn't in the meeting last month, and this is the first time I looked at the project. I was wondering, is the commission's scope to discuss the functionality of the project? I was referring to the big family room in the back of the property, which is unusual for a single family home. So I was wondering if this is our scope to discuss that.
I think the question is for Anthony or the planning manager. I think I think we need to kind of define the design review commission's responsibility.
Yes, Chairman and members of the commission, this is a continue item from the previous Design Review Commission meeting, and it was one of the items that was raised by the commission. So yes, it is something that the commission can follow up on with questions.
And
Okay,
Sam, if I could also add to that, it was also a something that was also brought up by a member of the public as well, which also got the discussion going as well with the applicant.
Thank you, Anthony. Okay, Commissioner Salo.
No questions, but I do want to thank staff for organizing the presentation the way they did, listing last month's comments and addressing how they were addressed in this month's presentation. That's really helpful. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Commissioner Nadoni.
No questions for staff.
Thank you. Vice Chair Rama.
Just a comment. I was the one who made the comment at the last meeting about the washer and dryer, and noticed that usually a single family house only has one washer and dryer. The location of the washer and dryer is irrelevant, but a single family house usually only has one set, which kind of alluded to the comment of the neighbor. If this was my house, I would want the washer and dryer inside instead of outside, unless I have someone else doing my laundry that is outside of the household. So the location of the washer and dryer, I would like to applicant based upon how they're going to be using the site. And if I'm the female or male living at that house, I don't want to go outside to do my laundry. So just a comment on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I also commend staff for responding to the last month's comments. As Commissioner Salo said, it helped the commission quite a bit. So thank you very much. Now I would like to request the applicant to address the commission. You said the designer or the applicant, Mr. True, is he the owner or he's the designer? Anthony.
Good evening. No. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Hugh.
Anthony, you want to go first?
No, go ahead, Hugh. Why don't you explain
okay.
to us more about the
Yeah,
project?
Yes. Good evening, Commissioner, Chairman Chang, Vice Chair Romo, Commissioner Danoni, Commissioner Salo, and Commissioner Tu. My name is Hui Chiu. I'm the applicant for the house. I represent the property owner because I've been doing this to help the property owner, get the process a little more close to the city to work. And thank you, Samantha and Anthony, to work with this project for so long. I also met our neighbor Rebecca last week. We have a very good conversation, and kind of like explain all the issues that we raised during the last comment we have from the hearing last time. So first, I represent the property owner, and I think we should go ahead jump on the question that only myself answer. The rest, Jeff, the architect, Billy, and Kit, the landscape, will answer all your questions. I'm also we review the condition of approval, and we feel it's pretty fair. We can achieve that. We don't have any problem. The only question that everyone were asking, the last room at the house. We have they have a big family and a lot of friends. Sometimes they come from far away to make a visit, and you never know if you come and then you have paid to stay or not. So we have a large room. If sometimes some guests want to stay, we just have them stay in the large room, just temporary for a night, in some occasion. That's all for the room. I think the last time what I say, group study is not come up correctly, and it won't happen in that house. That's all I want to clear up. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
You're welcome, sir.
Yeah. Any questions for the applicant? I'll start with you, Commissioner Tu. Do you have any question for the applicant?
No, I don't. I was wondering what was the function for that 1,000 square foot family room was. So I think the applicant answered that in the presentation.
Thank you.
I don't have further questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Commissioner Salo, any question for the applicant?
Yeah, I have a question for the designer. I noticed that the front door has been called out to be as mahogany, natural mahogany wood with clear satin finish. But the rest of the wood on the site, the trellis and the shutters and the trim for the windows is all to be painted to match trim color. And the way that trim color is rendered in all of the renderings, it's this bright orange color. It's not particularly appealing. I wonder if it could be also mahogany to match the front door, or something a little more natural. Something that I think can be resolved as a condition of approval, maybe something that can be submitted to the city architect to approve before issuing the permit. That's my comment. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Nate. Appreciate that. Commissioner Nadoni?
Yes, for the applicant. You told the commission last month that you would be holding group meetings in the 1,000 square foot room. Now you've told the commission that you would not be holding those group meetings, but you would now just be providing a large space for people to visit and stay overnight. This is a single family residence. It is zoned single family. I have a problem with the responses from the applicant, knowing that this property is owned by the neighboring church. I truly believe that this should not come in front of the Design Review Commission. It should be coming in front of the Planning Commission, because I believe that what you're building here is something that will be connected to the church and be used by the church and should be zoned correctly. It is not a single-family residence use. And those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Nadoni. Vice Chair Romo.
I'm also concerned about the massing of the home and the 6 bedrooms that are shown. That is fairly extensively large for a single family home. And even if you have a large family, which I'm the youngest of 11, we've had gatherings in homes that are in a single family neighborhood and 2,000-3,000 square feet in total. And that's been that hasn't been an issue. And we've had groups of 30, 40 people, even in my humble home here in San Gabriel. That hasn't been an issue. So if the applicant is doing something for their family, I think the size is a little too dense for the neighborhood. And if the applicant is doing something that is connected with the use for the church, then that should clearly be stated and the appropriate body evaluate this project.
Thank you, Vice Chair Romo. The 2,800 square feet application in front of us met all the density, lot coverage, and everything else. The allocation of the space, it's a little interesting, to say the least. All 6 bedrooms on top, and then with the front and the back with 2 major space. If it's truly a single family home, family do have different lifestyles. I think as Samantha has alluded to earlier about the fact that we should look at the design of the home and is it compatible to the neighborhood? Does it work within the design guidelines? As to the use, Commissioner Nadoni hit it right there by saying that if there is a use issue, meaning that they are, and I don't even know if a church or auxiliary church function can be used in a R1 zone, or it may not. I've seen church being in place in R1 zones. Some city would allow that, but I am not sure in the city of San Gabriel. Or would this case should be considered by Planning Commission? I will probably have to leave that to planning staff to make that recommendation. I personally would like to look at it as a design review single family home. We have to take the word from the applicant, so to speak. Can they conduct class in their home? Depends what they conduct. Yeah, they have right to enjoy their property. So, and I don't know how they configure or furnish this 1,000 square foot home, or their family come over, or family member come over, or other people come over. It's on the record. So I don't know if this is a co-enforcement issue, Samantha, or if this is something that it could be a potential zoning issue. So I'd like to hear maybe staff can give us some direction on that. But in the meantime, I do like to hear if there is any other neighbors have any concern in that area. I drove there twice myself to see the property. Just want to make sure I get a feel of it. So if it truly used as a single family home, I don't have a problem. But it's being used as a church, then it become a zoning issue. Then I like staff to comment on that. So Maybe before we go into our deliberation, I'd like to ask staff if, Erica, have you received any public comments up to this point on this particular project?
No, we haven't received public comment for this item.
I see. Thank you very much. Okay, without any further comment, so far I hear that Committee 2 accept the answer. Committee Sailor want to see the color change. Maybe if I may ask, planning manager, should we act on what's in front of us, or should we suspect there may be a zoning issue? You have any direction for us?
Yes, Chairman and members of the commission. To the question regarding whether a church use is permitted on the property, by code, it is a conditional use permit requirement if that is the case. If there is a use being conducted on the property that's inconsistent with the zoning and a complaint is received, then it would be a code enforcement item. And also, I believe, Anthony, if you wanted to jump in, I think a condition of approval has also been incorporated to clarify that that would be the case if there is a change in use on the property. And the Design Review Commission is welcome to take action this evening based on the proposal that's presented before the commission.
Thank you
Yeah,
very much.
thank you.
Go ahead, Anthony. There is a condition that the use presented in front of us in writing is a single family use. Am I correct? on that?
Yes. Yes, if the commission will turn to Exhibit 1 of Attachment A, and referring to Planning Division Condition of Approval number 13. This is referring to the interior floor plan changes. It states there shall be no changes to the interior floor plan from what was approved by the Design Review Commission. Any proposed changes to the interior floor plan shall be subject to review and approval by the Community Development Department. The building must be utilized as a single family residence. However, if the Design Review Commission would like to change any of that language, stating if if a complaint was received about the use, that it goes to the proper approval channels, which in this case would be the Planning Commission. If the commission would like to add something like that to that condition as well, or another condition on top of that.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I think that's a good suggestion, that if we make some commissioner feel a little bit more, feel better by having another condition, that if there's any complaint received by the neighborhood that there are activities that it's out of the single family activities, then it's in violation of the condition of approval. And then they would have to bring it up to Planning Commission, co-enforcement, to either put them back to the same use, or if they do not grant them that conditional use permit. And I think we can only act on what's in front of us rather than speculate what they may do. Go ahead, Commissioner Anthony.
Yeah, I would like to ask the applicant, if I may.
Please.
I'm looking at a Google Maps, a satellite photo, and I'm not sure exactly when it was taken, but the property in question, the single family property, has the entire backyard tarped. So it is completely covered with some type of tarp tent from side property line to side property line, from the back property line to the end of the house. I would like to ask the applicant what that was being used for.
I guess you're talking about currently, or from a existing old Google map.
At one point in time, when the photograph was taken for Google Earth, or Google Maps, there was the entire backyard was tarped. I would like to ask the applicant if if they could respond what that was used for.
Yeah. Hugh True, can you, how long do
Yeah.
you own the property? Can you answer that question, please?
Yeah, I think the top were up there for like a couple years now. In some occasion, when the you know when the house were have like not enough space, to put something outdoor in some occasion. So when the weather was so hot, we need to have a tent so things are not going to get damaged by the weather.
Commissioner Donny, did you understand that? Well, yeah, Hugh, are you saying that what is the current use of the house at this point? Are they rented out? They're being used by the same people? Who is living in there now?
Oh, at the house right now, there was some monks. They live there.
So
the
some
house-
monks live there.
Yeah.
Do they work
You know-
next door? Do they work next door at the temple?
Yeah, they come to serve the temple, but when they stay and live in the house. So the purpose of the house is just a place where people live.
I see. So they practically work next door, but they live in this house.
Yes.
Okay, so they do not.
So
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a rectory, what we would consider, in certain religions, a rectory where those that serve the temple, the church, they live, and it's part of the church property. Correct?
No, the function of the house is like people in a family and some monks, they live there. So I'm not so sure about the way of the church use. I don't understand that to make a comparison.
Well, I think what you were just describing is that these people that live there work at the church or work for the church. Is that correct?
Yes, a few of them, not all the people live in the house. I think half of them.
Okay. And what you described as the tarp, which covers the entire backyard, was just put up for shade and for extra space for the people that live in the house.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So let me ask you one more quick question, if I may. If you build this house, would you still have that tarp all the way across the whole backyard and the driveway? Do you still need that?
No, we won't have that because right now, everything, if the house will build, we have proper way to use, so there won't be any more topic.
Okay, so in other words, the backyard for the surrounding neighbors, they should see what's on the site plan with trees, landscaping, proper driveway, parking, proper garage, and we would not see any of these quote unquote unapproved areas that you need shading in the backyard. If you put it in part of the condition, would you have any problem with that?
No, I don't have any problem with that. Thank you.
So we can make that part of the condition that there is no outdoor. I mean, it's you can have outdoor activities, but it's not for the kind of activity you had before, from property line to property line, creating a 1,000 square foot of shade area for people, because you already have it inside the house, and you're not going to have it outdoor as part of the condition.
Yes.
So, okay. So you can take that as part of the condition. All right. Okay.
Yes.
So, Commissioner Donny, I don't know whether that would make you feel more comfortable that this talk that you saw on Google, by making it a condition of approval, that will not be there. If they violate that part of the condition, then code enforcement will be out there, and they may be forced to go into the conditional use permit process through the planning commission rather than the design review commission.
I guess the way I feel about it is that I think the Design Review Commission here has the opportunity to basically set some standards. It's our role to set the standards, especially for single-family residences. And when I see a use that is questionable for a single-family residence, I am going to question it, and I think to question it, it should be questioned before anything gets built. So adding conditions on after it's been built and after things, may occur in that area, which are not a single family use, I don't agree with that. I think if the owner of this property wants to use it for church property, I think they need to rezone it as church property. And so I do not feel confident enough that the owner accepts that and will accept any conditions that we put on the development of this property.
Okay. The only thing is that I don't see anywhere where they come in and indicate, or even from the presentation, that they are using that as a church functionality. A monk living there as a guest of the single family home may not constitute a change of use. It's still living there. It's a dwelling unit. This is what's in front of us, I think. So for us to deny the application because we think they may use it for church purpose, maybe speculate in my mind.
Yeah, I think the statement from last month, the statement that they would use that 1,000 square foot space for group meetings for the church, I think says it all. And for them to come back the next month and say, no, that's not what we're going to do. It's not what we're going to use that space for. I'm sorry, I can't approve this. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, so with that, I think we'll go ahead and go on to our close the public portion of the meeting. Now it is 7:14. That there is no more public comments to be read. Applicant, do you have any further rebuttal or information you want to address for the commissioner?
Yes, I just say, we have the opportunity to have all the question, all the answer, and I feel it's pretty fair that all the commission have the, and the application have the opportunity to talk to each other and any subject. I don't feel any, kind of like anything that go against us, and I'm very happy to have all the comment because, Commission Downey brought up something, there may be somebody will bring up the same question, but then the Chairman Chen, thank you for, kind of like putting up, the commission tonight is decide about the house. If we violate anything, the condition of the approval is there, and we will, obey that, approval and follow up. If anything change, we will come up to the city and make it properly changed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Okay, so I'll close the public portion of the meeting, and then I think we can go into our own deliberation and discussion. So I'll start with Commissioner Tu. How do you feel about this project as it presented and all the testimony so far?
After hearing what Commissioner Nadoni and Commissioner Romo said about the project, I mean, I myself find it hard to believe the 1,000 square foot family room was a purpose for fulfilling a lifestyle of a large family. One at the same time, like people working in the church is living it in the facility. It seems like it's a supportive facility serving to the church versus like a large single family living in the house. Yes, I do not feel comfortable about that because without any change to the plan, the applicant can still use the space as what they previously suggested. They don't need to change the plan and still can host a large group meeting or assembly meeting. Yeah, this is, I don't think the condition state clearly enough for defining what is a single family resident use versus it's just saying if there's any change, you need to get approval. But I don't see this necessary to be a change in order to use that space as assembly space. So that is my that's my comments.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Salo, you have what is your feeling at this time?
Well, I do have the benefit of having some church clients, and there's no such thing as a church zone. So church use is always going to be on a parcel that's designated for some other use, and it's often commercial, and then it's very often on a residential zoned lot. But in all of my projects with my church clients, we pursue variances and conditional use permits prior to starting the design of the projects, even for residences for the support staff. It feels like this project is going to be an accessory building to the church. So I'd wonder what the project impact will be for them to pursue a conditional use permit now prior to getting design approval. It's a little tricky because, I've also had, clients where they've got 10 kids and they do have a large family room. And so, if this proposal was not presented by the church, it was actually by a family, would we approve it? I mean, there's a strong chance that we would, but we have more information. So it's a little tricky. My question would be, can we pursue a conditional use permit prior to approving the design?
Thank you, Nate. Commissioner Nadoni?
I think Commissioner Salo has a good idea, an excellent idea, that maybe a conditional use permit is required here. And then once that's granted, then it can come back to the commission. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Let's share, Ramo.
I think the church has a very strong presence in our community. Anyone who has driven by the site on a Sunday around from 11 to noon to 1, there is a lot of activity, more than the existing site can handle. There's the parking is on the street. To me, if I was a member or an administrator for the church, it would make a lot of sense to use the adjoining property for auxiliary church activities and services, rectory, class size, because they do have a tremendous amount of people parking across the street, trying to find parking. And if you've ever driven by the area, you can see the impact of the congregants. And I think that's a benefit to the community to have people coming, patronizing a use in the San Gabriel neighborhood. I would like to see if the building, looking at some type of a conditional use before the building is built, instead of trying to put up some type of an issue where it's on a complaint basis. The complaint basis might be because of the traffic of the existing use of the church activity. It might be something different. And if you have an existing church, it's hard to close down or to kick everyone out of the existing home until you rectify the issue. So I think it's best dealt with before something is constructed. That's kind of how I feel about everything. But thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I appreciate all those comments. I mean, they're all good comments. In the beginning, I look at it as a single-family home. If this is a family coming in and try to build this house, chances are, if it's not next to a church, it's just all in the neighborhood, will approve it the way it's presented for some color change. But I think the fact that we realize that it is owned by the same property owner of the church next door, and it is probably honest when they said that, yeah, there'll be some monk living next door, living there, not conducting church business. And then now we have to set up a additional condition and co-enforcement and monitoring all of those. And that become a long-term problem for the church and for the occupant that live there. So it probably makes sense for them. It may delay them for a month or two to go to Planning Commission, get a CUP, and then we can just come right back and then we'll pass it. It's almost like any of these apartment buildings or subdivisions, we approve it all the time. So at least the use is clear and there will be no further problem. So yes, Vice Chair Ramos.
And I think looking at that, that's as an adjoining building to the church, then you can design it with gates towards the back of the property that faces the church property. And there's that ebb and flow going back and forth. And it's designed properly for the use that it's intended for.
Great suggestion. I think the fact that with adjoining property, which is a good sized property now, I think they can design what they really need, and then have the use in conjunction with the next door neighbors, and then all of a sudden now we have a better use of the two properties for the correct function. So with that said, I think I do need to ask Planning Manager Samantha, does it mean that they have to go to Planning Commission for the CUP?
Yes, Chairman Chang and members of the commission, the options before the applicant this evening is one, to either request a continuance for another opportunity to address the floor plan, or two, to request a continuance to make an application for a conditional use permit for an otherwise intended use. And then three, if the Design Review Commission is looking to consider a determination for not approving the application, then if staff can refer the commission to attachment A, and then the findings that are required in the resolutions to either approve or disapprove a project. And if the Design Review Commission can can inform staff which findings to bring back a resolution of denial at the next Design Review Commission meeting. So it does have to be made clearly which finding is not made by the applicant so that the denial resolution can be brought back at the next public hearing.
Is there a possibility that we can approve the project, condition the fact that they can bring it up to Planning Commission for a CUP approval? Would that be one option?
As a condition that
They would have-
an application, yes, it can be approved. And the applicant would have to agree that they accept that condition of approval before
Right.
the commission takes action.
Yeah, I think, yeah, understand. So the solution is that instead of having them with nothing, if we just only want to make sure that they have a conditional use permit with the Planning Commission, so they know what they're using it for, it's subject to obtaining a conditional use permit approval by the Planning Commission. Then without that, they cannot build anyway. There's no permit for them. So it will not create a problem of building something and not sure what they use it for. I think once that way you save them the time of coming back to us after they go to the Planning Commission and start all over again. So that may be one option. If I can ask the applicant if that's something that they can consider an action from this commission, pending on the additional condition of getting a CUP from the Planning Commission. Is it something that the commission want me to ask the applicant? Let me go ahead and ask the applicant anyway before we can make any decision on doing it. Are we open for the public portion? Mr. Hu Chu, can you answer to that discussion, that question about whether you would like this commission to make a decision with one condition that you have to go to the Planning Commission for a CUP for this project?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. I'm open, without discussing with the property, but I am open to be approved with condition of, apply for a conditional use permit with the Planning Commissioner. We will be okay with that.
Okay. Thank you.
For now, we asking you to look at the side of the house, and then we can, go to a different issue with the use of the house. So we can be, get one thing done tonight.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, Ron, you had your hand raised. Can you share with us? I should have asked you anyway.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. One thing I would like to point out is I have designed thousands of homes, but I've never designed one with such a large living room ever. If you notice, they show two large beams that support the second floor. Those beams have a span of about 33 feet. And imagine a typical garage door, 16-foot garage door, and think of the header above the garage door. It's something like a 4x16 or something like that. We're talking a double that span. So this is going to require a very large glue lam beam or a steel beam. This is, I've designed a lot of office buildings too that have 30-foot spans. This is even greater than that. So then also with that huge room and then a second floor above, there's an issue with torsion and shear that I don't know if just the perimeter walls will suffice. The room used to have some stub walls that help support where the beams are that could offer some lateral support, but I would just be concerned that this building could even stand up.
You mean structurally that may be an issue?
Yes.
Well, having the architect on this will have to bring it to a structural engineer to work that out. Yeah, you're right. glulam beam of maybe 16 or 18 inches deep, may be able to span 30 feet across that, or if nothing else, it would be a steel beam construction. I know it can be built. It's just that, structurally they did need to get the correct structural engineer to work it. So that
Exactly.
that
Yes.
way. I
Thank you.
appreciate. But so thank you for that comment. But so with that said, back to the commissioners, if we are concerned about the use and we want them to go to planning commission and clearly state what they wanted to do with a conditional use permit over and above a single family use now, would you feel comfortable with that direction? I think we can discuss before we make a motion, because if we denied it, that means they got nothing. They have to start all over again. And then if we approve it with a condition that they really are only just getting the design portion done, without a use permit, there is no permit. They cannot get it built yet. But they do have the right to use that property for an intended purpose. So I think we're protecting our neighborhood, protecting the neighbors. So far, Vice Chair Ramo, you're right. I went there 2 times on last Sunday. I appreciate your concern, and so I'm sure when this goes to planning commission, the planning commissioners will do the same thing. They would scrutiny the whole use permit very carefully, with the understanding that this is what they have in front of them and they can look at it without input already. So any other feedback before I ask for a motion? Yes, Vice Chair.
I think if I was the owner of the property and if I was an administrator for the church, and if I had to go through the planning commission, I think that there would be some design changes to the property that would relate more to the church in addition to the fence. Maybe there would be other doors that open towards the church property. The gardens might be designed differently. And I think this is an opportunity for the church to use this property, because with a conditional use permit, even though it's in residential property, the use is still something that it's permitted with a conditional use permit. So I think there could be something that could be designed that would better fit the church property and respect the residential. And I think there could be more done knowing that that's going to be the use, because right now, design wise, we're looking at it as a single family home separate from the church property. But if you look at it all under one ownership and having those buildings work together, you want to have some opening, the gates, walls and doors, interior. You want to have that ebb and flow, such as we see with the existing churches in our cities and how they work with schools, with rectories, convents, different types of administration buildings. And I think that's, at this point, I am uncomfortable to just give them a seal of approval without any specifications on knowing how that's going to work together.
Okay, thank you. Some good thoughts in there. So if I may just go with the plan manager one more time. Is with this understanding, the commission then can we refer the case we continue the case and refer them to obtain a planning commission CUP approval before it come back to us? Is that something, I haven't seen it done that way because of the use purpose, but is that something that can be done? Or I hate to get a denial on it where they have no direction to go.
So the action before the commission this evening is to review and take action on the proposed design. And if conditions of approval are required, then they would have to be accepted by the applicant before the commission can take action.
So which means that we need to deny the case first, basically. We need to deny what's in front of us. And then
Right. And so again, so that the applicant is clear, the findings that are required is consistency with general plan and zoning and other city ordinances. Also, that the design is architecturally harmonious and is similar to properties in the same neighborhood and zoning classification, and that the design provides a degree of amenity characterized by landscaping and other design features, and also that the design provides proper transition between the parcel and the adjoining properties. And fifth, that the design, to the extent possible, incorporates solar features, and sixth, the design protects the character defining features of the historic streetscape and building exteriors. Those are the required findings by code. And Anthony, I don't know if there's anything else that you want to add to that. So, so the findings to support or to deny has to either be based on making the findings as required by code, or that the project does not meet the findings.
Right. Yeah, Sam, and I was on the same, I was looking at the same thing. So if my understanding is correctly, in order for the commission to approve it, they would have to make sure that all the findings are made in the affirmative. But if they want to deny it, they have to show, or we have to find a finding that the project does not meet. Otherwise, if the commission would like to instead recommend that the applicant look at going the conditional use permit route, maybe that's a route where they just continue the project to a date uncertain. If a finding cannot be made that shows that it could be denied, and that way the applicant, I think Sam had said it before, could either provide more evidence or revise a floor plan to show or address these comments further, or they could go the route of going to the planning commission and obtaining that CUP if that's something that they are looking to do in the future. So I guess if I'm hearing it correctly, there's really 3 options on this, and it's really the approval, continue, or denial. But really only the approval and denial refers to the findings, and either making them in the affirmative or not in the affirmative.
Yeah. So in other words, we can continue it and let the applicant with those recommendations that we just said, and it's up to the applicant to work with planning staff to try to get the CUP, and then I think and design it accordingly. Then I don't think this body would have any issue approving it design-wise, working with city architect and all. So I think it will be a more cohesive design with the existing church building and this supporting accessory building. Will probably be a better project by doing it that way, and they can meet their program needs and do it correctly. So I think that probably is the best decision then, is to continue it, allow them to have a chance to work with planning commission and planning staff before it come back to us. is that something, do I hear any other further input from the commissioners? Yes, go ahead, Nick, and Loya next.
Yeah, this is a comment for the applicant and their designer. Said, once you obtain the CUP, you'll be freed up to design the building that you want and not be constrained with trying to make your program fit into a single family residence shell, which is, from what we heard today, making the construction look a lot more expensive than you may realize at this point. So, pursuing that route, you're not going to want a design approval today, because I have a feeling that, once you realize what you're able to do, then you'll be able to, you will want to make those changes. I have a feeling. Those are my comments.
Makes a lot of sense. Go ahead, Loya, you have a further comment.
Oh, yes, I do feel like there was a benefit for the applicant to have the conditional use permit, and so that they can actually like fully utilize the site. Looking at the current plan, it seems like they have the driveway on the west side that adjacent to the church property. However, if they have large group of people travel between these two properties, they might want to reconsider that to keep the current driveway on the east side. So so that would be considerations for the applicant to play out according to what they actually need. And also, as Commissioner Salo stressed that because of the second floor has so much flow and so many rooms above, and given a lot of stress to the ground floor large span that is like 32 feet. So there's a lot of things that can be reconsidered to improve the project overall. So that's my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree with you wholeheartedly. So, Commissioner Nadoni, any further feedback based on what you heard?
No, and I think the comments by the other commissioners were spot on. For example, even the 3-car garage. If you have a conditional use permit, do you need, depending upon what you're building, do you need that 3-car garage? So there's a lot of opportunities to look at it as part of church property or the temple property. So
Right.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Very good. Vice Chair Rama, any further last word?
Just if it's going to be a church property, one of the things that I'm going to be looking at is the buffering to there's only 2 residential properties that are abutting this. And so how is that buffering going to occur? Because basically the zoning is going to be a little different. So I would want to see good buffering for privacy of those residents, since there's going to be an ebb of flow of people, much different than a single family home would have the activity next door. So that's something that I'm going to want to see in the future.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think if once they get that direction change, working with planning staff and city architect, they can actually maybe redirect the whole site planning to make it so that the buffering will be on the east side and the north side. And that way we'll take it a neighbor next door. They have a much better flow of both pedestrian traffic and vehicular traffic. So it will definitely help the property a great deal, with the combination. So, okay, I think enough said. I agree with all the comments made. So it sounds like they're making it a continuance to allow applicant to work with city planning staff and architecture staff, and planning commission is the right direction. So may I have a motion then? The motion is really basically for continuance. Nick,
Hi, this is Commissioner Zillow. I motion to continue the project.
to a date uncertain, right?
The date uncertain and give them the opportunity to pursue the CUP, yes.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
This is Commissioner Tu. I second.
Thank you very much. Been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Roll call vote, Commissioner Tu,
Yes.
Commissioner Salo,
Yes,
Commissioner Nadolny,
Yes.
Vice Chair Romo,
Yes.
Chairman Chang.
Yes.
Motion passed. Vote is 5-0.
Thank you very much. So to the applicant, I hope you took note of what was said, and please work with our planning staff and also the city architect to move the project forward with the correct direction. Then, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Can we have one moment if my architect, Mr. Jeff Kaufman, Bewley, since they have opportunity here, all the comments from you, if they have any, question before we close out for today. Hi, Jeff.
Well, the motion that passed. Your architect want to ask questions. It will be more to the city architect or planning staff. I don't.
Okay.
There is no reason to talk to the commission because we can only act on what's in front of us. If it's some new stuff that we haven't seen, we cannot act on it anymore. So have your architect contact Samantha and Anthony and Ron, and then they will be more than happy to sit down with you based on the new plan, and then guide you through the planning commission process to get the CUP for your true intent and purpose for the use. It will help you in the long run.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to the next agenda item is A 500 East Valley Boulevard, planning case number MSP 21-004, public art plan. And then Anthony, I think you're going to present it for us.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Chang. Thank you. Okay, so the proposed project before you tonight is actually a project preview for a proposed public art plan for the new commercial development located at 500 East Valley. The purpose of this item or this presentation is to request the commission to provide comments to the applicant pertaining to the new proposed revised public art plan. This planning case number MSP 21-004. Slide number 2, please. Thank you. The project site is located on the south side of East Valley Boulevard between the streets of Alego Square to the east and Walnut Street to the west. Slide number 3, please. The slide above is actually an aerial view, and this is an aerial view that is a little bit outdated. Now they do have a parking lot. Right here is showing, I think, when they were grading for the parking lot. The 5,391 square foot commercial building is currently going through its final stages of the construction phase. It is bordered by single family homes to the south and commercial buildings to the east, or east, west, and north of the project site. Slide number 4, this is just a simple rendering of what the project looks like. The commercial development looks like. It is to serve 5 commercial units. Slide number 5, please. At the June 28, 2021 meeting for the Design Review Commission, the applicant took the proposed master sign program and public art package to the Design Review Commission for consideration. At that time, the applicant was requesting to have the newly constructed pergola that is over the outdoor dining area count as the public art requirement or the public art feature. The Design Review Commission requested that more be provided to the public art component and that it be brought back to a future meeting. Slide number 6, this is just showing pictures of that pergola that was originally considered. The developer has, since the meeting, that developer has brought on a public art consultant by the name of Irina Panasiuk. I'm sorry, Irina, if I mispronounced that. She has prepared a, okay, thank you. She has prepared a PowerPoint presentation for the commission tonight to show the new revised public art proposal for the project site. Slide number 7, please. This is just a quick slide. Irina will go into further detail about it, but basically this is proposed to be located at the east end of the project site, at the end of the, located right at the end of the pergola piece. It's looking to incorporate a design that she will go into further detail, incorporating some elements to the stucco wall there. So slide number 8 is the end of staff's presentation. Staff recommends that the Design Review Commission provide comments on the proposed project. At this time, Irina has prepared a PowerPoint presentation, so if the commission has any questions for me, I'm happy to answer. If not, then John, I think we could pass it on to Irina. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any question for staff before we see the presentation? Yes, Vice Chair Rama.
Yes, at this time, Anthony, do you have a potential opening date for the project?
I do not know the answer to that question, Vice Chair Romo, but we do have, I think also on the line with Irina is the applicant representative or the developer representative, Mr. Dave Gutierrez. Maybe Dave, if you would be able to answer that question.
Yes, good evening, Vice Chair Romo, members of the commission, and certainly Chairman Cheng. At this time, we do have one tenant that has signed a lease agreement for one of the units. What we're waiting for is certainly the final off-street improvements to be completed, which are in process right now. All other components have been completed, and with the exception of the public art, I was hoping that certainly the public art would not hold up the occupancy or even temporary occupancy permit. But to answer your question, Vice Chair, as soon as the off-street improvements are completed, which I forecast would be probably within the next 3 weeks, we're good to go.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. Okay. Any other question for staff? Yes, Commissioner Latone.
Just wondering what the budget would be since the project is already built, the pergola is already built. We have obviously construction costs. What is the budget for the art?
And I believe I should be able to answer that question. We were operating with a strong awareness that the developer has already exceeded his projected budget. I believe he went twice over the budget. So we tried to find the artist who would be able to deliver the artwork of excellent quality, but also operate with a minimal budget, which is always a challenge. Right now, we're looking into having a budget solely for the public artwork of around most likely $14,000, including installation and materials and everything. And that does not include the public art consultant fee, which in most cases, when we're working with 1% for the art, also counts as part of public art budget. So if we were to include public art consultant fees, the budget would be over that amount.
Okay, well, appreciate that. I think Commissioner Nadonzi, your question is that was that a budget required by the city? Correct.
Correct. And I'm sorry, I lost audio there for a minute, so I didn't quite hear the answer, but yeah, that's my question.
I can answer that. Does everybody hear me well now?
We can hear you now, yes.
Okay. So this project falls, the project is within the Valley Boulevard specific plan area. And the Valley Boulevard specific plan area recommends for the public art budget to be equal to 1% of the construction budget. Now, it does not require it, that which some of the other, specific plan areas might. It recommends. So, but I think what is also considered is counting partially some of the budget that went to cover the pergola construction as part of the public art budget as well. And in that case, it would fall way beyond the 1% that is recommended by the specific plan.
Commissioner Natoli didn't hear your $14,000 answer. They said the art piece, the artwork is about $14,000, not counting the art commission fee. So with that on top, it would be more than the 14,000. 1% of that, I don't know what the total budget of the project is, but let's look at what the the presentation is like and see how the commission feel about it. I think the east side, they can work it out with the city, but I think we are here to look at the final design and how that public art intent was met now.
Right, absolutely. I totally agree. But I do remember the last time that it was brought before us, they were asking that the pergola be the 1% for art. So, it's a question out there. So we just want to make sure that the city and the community receives what they should receive.
Let's see how the artwork work with the pergola, because I think I'm excited to see what's in front of us, and I think there was a reason. The intent of that art fee was to create some public art where the public can enjoy, and let's see how much enjoyment we got out of that $14,000. Go ahead, Darina.
Thank you. And I can also address the question of budget and how it relates to the required or recommended amount after the presentation. I would be more than happy to speak a little more about that. So good evening, Chairman Chen and Vice Chair Romo and commissioners and members of staff and the wonderful planning department. I am more than happy to tell you a little more about the public art component that we worked so hard on for the last, I believe, 5 weeks. We have provided a detailed art plan, which you can see in the materials. It is included in the agenda as one of the attachments. So the slides that I put together for this meeting actually covers additional information and visual references in addition to the art plan. So if my YouTube translation is a little delayed, so I'm gonna go off with the numbers of the slides that I have in my original presentation. If you could please switch to the slide number 2, Artwall Location. The developer, his consultant, and myself, an art consultant, we visited the site before even starting to discuss the art piece. We wanted to make sure we find the best place and identify the place for the public artwork that would make it visible and also secure location for the art. So we looked at the northern east corner of the property and decided that we want to focus not only on the pergola, but also on the wall on the opposite side of the pergola, facing the building. It is about a 16 feet long and a little bit short of 6 feet tall portion of the wall that divides it from the neighboring property. The pergola leads from the exit of the building to the parking area, in a way guiding the visitors along a path to the artwork. So that's how we intended to tie it all together. The art wall, the pergola leading the way to the art wall from the exit of the building. We envisioned it as the area of relaxation and also admiring the artwork. The wall is
Sorry,
the wall
Irene.
is not.
Let me just interrupt you real quick. On that page there, it says 16 inches by 5'9". You had me worry for a little bit. So it's 16.
No, it's a little longer. Luckily, it's a little longer.
Okay, I worry. 16 inches
No,
by
it's
5'9" is not going to make it. All right, so
no, it's 16 feet.
make sure that we all understand that. All right, sorry.
Yes. Sorry, that was a little mistypo. The wall is not facing, not directly adjacent to the sidewalk and street. So it's sort of keeping it away from passerbys, while highlighting the major artwork with the help of proper lighting at night, and also attracting attention during the daytime, but not distracting the visitors. And the fact that it's not directly adjacent to the sidewalk and street, we believe also makes it a safer location for artwork, having less exposure for vandalism. It also gives pedestrians and visitors to the building opportunity to view all the intricate details of bas-reliefs from a closer range while on the property. But before I switch to talking about bas-reliefs, let us share, if you could please switch to slide number 3, then you can see what it looks like right now. The pergola is really well done. It's in a way, an architectural artwork. So completing this portion of site with a beautiful artwork on the wall is something that we believe is going to enhance the visual experience of visitors and also be a very good addition to the city's art collection. If you could switch to slide number 4, you would see what we had in mind. We looked at different options. Originally, I brought a couple of artists for the developers and his consultants' consideration. One of them was Dan Monteavera. He's a very established and internationally renowned muralist and painter. His artworks are in the galleries all over the States, really, and his murals are known on and he's very sought after on national and international level. He's painted in New York, in Hong Kong. He's now being commissioned a mural in Rome, and he is scheduled to be at the next Venice Biennial, which will skyrocket his career. So he agreed to also consider doing an artwork for the site. There was a beautiful design he proposed for the wall, and he also wanted to involve the columns. However, we chose the sculptor Brittany Ryan for her skills for her artistic abilities and ability to tie up the history and social cultural context of this site, and as well as her vast experience and ability to perform and create unique designs and intricate tile work. She is actually a classically trained sculptor and illustrator and artist, which is a rare case in our days. As an art consultant, to be honest, there are not too many younger artists that are traditionally classically trained that know anatomy and are able to perform and deliver intricate line work. So I was really happy to discover her. She has very strong relationships with local museums, national and international art associations. Her work is in collections of many museums, and she is part of the faculty at Laguna College of Art and Design, which is actually one of the best institutions right now to train representational and traditional artists. So some of the work that inspired our choice, you can see on the slide 4, as well as the murals, we were considering sculptural element from the very beginning, but commissioning sculpture is a very expensive thing to do. So originally I offered looking at reliefs, bas reliefs, so-called, as a way to tie the space together, because it's a well-known practice to put a sculptural element, a smaller sculptural element, such as relief, next to pergola and tie up the composition that way. If you could switch to slide number 5, you would see some of the artwork and public artwork that inspired us. We were originally looking at flora, at trying to see if the artist could be inspired by flora and fauna, original flora and fauna of St. Gabriel. Some of the bas-reliefs that you can see right here, some of them are symbolic and involving magical creatures that are referring to different cultures. But we wanted to try to see if we could find something that would actually bring, remind the community of its roots. Bring everyone who sees it back to the history of this site and the location. So just to continue my story about the artist, if you could switch to slide number 6, you can see her most recent public art commission. It's called Canyon Walkers, and it is placed, it's already installed at the Laguna College of Art and Design, distinctive main campus. And it is something that is called heroic scale figurative sculpture. And once again, it's very hard to actually do a good job with those. You have to not only be skillful as an artist and sculptor, you have to know anatomy really well. You kind of have to be trained, what I call in the old school traditions, which she is. That makes her, that makes her a pretty unique public art sculptor these days among the new generation of artists. So if we are at slide number 6 right now, right? So you're seeing the bronze sculptures. The composition consists of 4 of them. So the traveler, the student, and the hiker and companion, where she also portrayed a dog as a hiker's companion. They all tell a story. Each of those figures portrays those people who walk through the canyon, each of them walking their own path of life, however representing the crowd that inhabits that community or frequents that community. So a lot of people can relate to it. And in a way, it kind of brings community together. There is a lot of interest. And there is a slide number 7 where I wanted to show you how well the sculptures, the figures are tied up with the landscape. They're implemented within kind of like they're walking their path. And at night, they're very visible too. So, you know, both the visitors and the residents really enjoy this artwork. So I was sure that by choosing this artist, I am bringing a sculptor who is capable of adding a really valuable work to the City of St. Gabriel's art collection. If we switch to slide number 8, we see some of the references that at this point are referring us to something that the artist has envisioned for the site. And I'm sure all of you have read the artist statement, which is part of this package. Right now, I'm showing you the references and examples of the technique that she's going to use, but she's going back to studying the original elements of the plans that were part of St. Gabriel before anything else was. She is, I have a lot of references that I would love to share with you, but that would be more slides. She is looking at live oak acorns and manzanita berries and prickly pear, cactus and white sage as those plants that Native Americans, the Tongva tribe that was inhabiting this area before everyone else did, it was part of their life, and it was a representation of their culture in a way. So if you have a chance to read her artist statement, it's really beautiful how she ties it all together. But the technique that she is intending to use is something that is called stained concrete. So here you can see how some of that technique is implemented in other public artworks. And it's pretty versatile. However, it also allows the artwork to stay within the traditional, let's say, and a more classic implementation. If you could switch to slide number 9, Here, she actually took pictures and provided some of the visual references to closer to what it's going to look like. These are floors, stained concrete floors, so it's going to be different on our wall. But there's also some of the palettes that she would be incorporating as an example on this slide. And if you switch to slide number 10, this is her drawing that shows the approximate visual of what she envisions for the wall right now. Now, I'm going to comment a little more about that later, but for now, you could see, she's referencing the plans of San Gabriel Valley, and she already is thinking about matching the colors and the stucco and stains for the concrete, coordinating it with the colors and details of the existing architecture, which I think with this kind of architecture inspired, still mission style, it would be nice to see the artwork complementing the existing design and architecture, that's exactly what she's trying to do with her artwork. And if you switch to slide number 11, you can see the elements of her drawings a little better in black and white. So that's what we're looking at in terms of the artwork that would be done within the budget that the developer is able to put together for the artwork. Something that I want to mention is that the original 1% of the construction budget, as we calculated it with the developer's consultant not long time ago, it would bring us closer to $30,000. By constructing a pergola, which is a beautiful element that adds to the architecture of the building, the developer has used some of that budget for the pergola, which we tied up into the whole art experience at this point. But the artwork that we're going to install on the wall, after all the expenses, I believe, per my calculations with the art consultancy, with installation, additional installation expenses and materials, with artist production, fabrication, design fees, it's actually going to be closer to $20,000. And then I believe the pergola itself was, David, please correct me if I'm wrong, it was what, closer to $50,000? So if we put it all together, it does put us closer to something like $70,000, while his requirement, or let's say recommendation, was closer to $30,000. So in this case, we do see developer definitely investing into public art and beautifying the site and contributing to the overall look of the property that will enhance the city art collection. There is one little thing that I would recommend to make it even better, if I may, if the commissioners would allow me. If we could switch back to slide number 3, you can see the wall in the middle is exactly that wall that I'm talking about. That's the site for the placement for the artwork. The wall under the city's, I believe, building code, the wall cannot exceed 6 feet. It's separating the site from the neighboring property. Right now, the wall is a little bit short of 6 feet. I believe it's about 5'9" or 5'10". We're even, with all the work we had to put into finding the right kind of artist who would agree to operate, with the limitations, time limitations, the budget that we have, we're actually going to bring a really interesting artwork to this site. And of course, it would be nice if we could, make it a real spotlight of the property, of this corner, of this block, and a better opportunity for spotlighting this artwork will make a big difference. And it's done not only with the help of lighting, which I'm already working on making sure that at night the artwork will be visible, and actually the light that are installed at the top of the pergola, they're gonna lead the way, and then the light that are gonna be installed at the bottom of the wall, it's gonna provide the right kind of lighting for the artwork. But what will really make a big difference if that wall, the original wall where we're placing the tiles, could be 2 or 3 feet higher. Placing the tiles, the custom-made unique tiles on the wall that is so short, it's almost like not allowing the artwork to shine and be as visible as it should. So what I would say, my last comment at the end of my presentation, if the city were to consider to allow us to somehow maybe simplify the process of approving of developer enhancing that wall and making it 2 or 3 feet higher by the time that, you know, we provide the complete art plan, that would be just wonderful. It would just provide the foundational support to give the styles the justice that they deserve. So this is what I had to say. Thank you for the time and opportunity to present it.
Thank you, Arena. Appreciate that very much. I'm sure Commissioner may have a few questions. David, Mr. Gutierrez, do you have anything to add before I open up for the Commissioner's comment or feedback?
Chairman Chang, were you asking me for comments?
Yes. Do you have any additional information for the Commission?
No, I think that Irina did an excellent job of creating a profile of where what our intentions are here. I would just remind that you certainly, Mr. Chairman, as well as the rest of the commissioners, that the budget that we're discussing and some of you have addressed is of major concern to the developer. As I mentioned in the last meeting, the project is way over budget. The city has recognized that in relieving some of the original conditions of approval for some of the off-site street improvements. So given the original amount of the pergola, and Arena was very close, but the pergola, actually, the cost of the pergola was $57,000. So in addition to the estimated $20,000 new charges, now really brings the price tag pretty high. So I think she's done a great job of working with the resources that she has in the past. And by the way, some of the commissioners may remember her. She has been very involved in previous projects, specifically George Lynn's project over there on, I believe it's 700 or 500 West Las Tunas, at Las Tunas and Mission. She was involved in that. She's been involved regionally, statewide. I've actually had opportunity to see her work in the Santa Barbara area. So as you have directed, we went out and we resourced the best of the best, and working with a limited budget, we certainly would appreciate the opportunity of moving forward with this project as presented. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'd like to hear some feedback from the commissioners, and I'm sure we have some question. Again, I'll start with you, Commissioner Joe, based on what you see, and share with us your feeling.
Yes. First of all, I have a question about the height of the wall. In the last presentation, Irena mentioned that the wall can be taller, or it because it's it's kind of like the boundary wall between these two properties. So that was I didn't catch that point. That was my first question. And secondly, what is behind the wall adjacent to the next neighbor? Is that additional property wall there, or can the back of the wall be accessible, or just only the front of the wall can be visible from visitors?
I'll be more than happy to answer this question. Thank you, Commissioner. Could we please bring up the slide number 3? I don't know if my YouTube is delayed, but I don't see it on the screen.
Yeah, Anthony, can you do that for us? We did not see the slide number 3 again.
So on slide number 3, the Commissioner, you're absolutely right. It is a wall that is separating this site from the neighboring property, which I believe we see in the center picture. I believe it's a liquor store. So whatever they have leaned against that wall, and also little, discrepancies of their own side walls, unfortunately, it will all be visible in the background of our beautiful artwork. And as an art consultant, that of course doesn't leave me in peace, because we put so much effort into bringing something very beautiful and valuable here, and then the background is totally taking away its value and its visual abilities to impress the audience and inspire the audience. So right on, Commissioner, that's why, your question is right on. That's why I raised a question of maybe, the commission allowing us to perhaps have a chance to raise that wall 2 or 3 inches higher to give the artwork a chance.
Where is your art wall? Where is it going? In front of the white wall where the planter is?
On the art,
what is
on the white wall. Right on the white wall.
Oh, right on the white wall.
Mm-hmm.
And how is that your wall or is it the neighbor's wall?
This part of the wall is our wall. And I believe the wall itself belongs to us. Is that correct, David?
Yes, you are correct. That wall is within our side of the property line. It was constructed as a part of this project. So it is our wall, and your recommendations are spot on. The code allows for requires a maximum 6-foot height. We could get a little bit of some wiggle room to increase the height of the wall by a foot or 2, just to provide a background, a backdrop for this artwork. I think it would truly enhance and, as you have said, better spotlight this beautiful artwork.
So the white wall now is 6 foot tall at this time, or 5'9"? How tall?
About 5'9".
Oh, the white wall now is 5'9".
Chairman Chang, I need to point out something, that the property, does slope a little bit to the south. So as you are aware, Chairman, the maximum height of a wall between 2 properties can't exceed 6 feet. So the mean height of the wall from front to back at its rear side, it does not exceed 6 feet. But because the property slopes at this particular point of the property line, it is at 5'9".
Let's see. Well, it's on the C zone, and I'm not so sure that 6 foot property line wall applies. Actually, you can have a building on the 0 property line. You can build up as high as you want. But I'm sure that's up to planning and building to look into that. But if that wall is actually acting as a part of the art piece, I'm sure they got some way to look at it and define that 5 to 6 foot height differently. So what's that 4 piece of shiny thing? What is that in front of it?
Excuse me,
I'm
could
sorry,
you repeat the question?
The 4 columns.
Oh.
Because I couldn't figure out what that is. Is that a parking?
They're metal pilasters that are for parking and just to protect that wall.
Okay. So the art piece would be between the pilaster and the white wall, then basically, right? It applies directly on the white wall.
It's directly on the white wall.
Yeah. And that white wall, is it 16 foot wide or wider than that?
So that wall actually goes from the front property line that abuts the public right-of-way on Valley Boulevard south to, and then actually outlines the property as it doglegs toward Walnut, or excuse me, Allegro Square.
No, I understand that, but I guess now I can see part of it because there was no plan. There was a plan, but there's no elevation, and the plan wasn't that clear. So I know that was Commissioner Tu's question, but how is that piece related to the pergola? Are you walking straight from the pergola into that wall, into the art piece?
Yes, as you exit the building, you make your way through pergola, and we believe there might be some more elements added there to create more of a recreational experience. As on some of the renderings, we see that there are some branches with tables located there, and then the wall, you walk through the pergola to get closer to the wall and look at the art, and the wall kind of encapsulates the visual experience. At night, the lighting on top of the pergola will also show the way to the art wall, and then the lighting at the bottom of the art wall will highlight the artwork. So it's sort of like we're creating a path to the artwork from the entrance/exit of the building.
I hope I'm not asking too much, but can we go to the site plan so we can understand where the art and how it relates to the pergola? I think,
Chairman Chang.
Slide number 2.
Chairman Chang.
Yeah.
Chairman Chang.
Yes.
If you look at attachment A, on my staff report, it's page 2. I think you might be able to better understand. There's a picture there that necessarily represents the view of the pergola looking in an easterly direction, and you would then see between the columns, if you were able to position yourself to the right between those columns, you would see that wall. In other words, what I'm suggesting is that you would, on the other side of the wall, you see the liquor store, and so that may necessarily be the best representation of where this is.
Okay. Yeah. Now I'm looking at your slide 2. That looks like that's pretty much it's right in front of the pergola, right? It
is right in front of the pergola. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
it kind of encapsulates the, as I said, that space. Kind of, what's the good word? Not only linking, but tying the whole part of that, the whole recreational side of the property, let's say. Tying it all together, with the area inside of the pergola and kind of like the other end of the pergola facing the artwork.
Okay, I'm sorry to take away the time of the other commissioners answering, but I just want to know how it relates to the pergola. Sorry, Commissioner Tu, are you done with your question, or are you satisfied with the answer so far?
Oh, no problem. I think we're just trying to find out what exactly the artwork is. I mean, from the image, it looks like a freestanding wall, but as a matter of fact, it seems like it's part of the neighboring wall. And I see the wall is way longer than 16 feet. So how does that work? I like the color scheme and how the color scheme tied it back to the pergola. But this wall is much longer and white. Are you going to paint the entire wall to match the color, or just the 16 feet?
Yes. Well, we don't want it to blend in with the rest of the wall. And if you could see it now, that part of the wall is visually sort of separate. And whenever we finish it after installing the artwork, because the artist is going to paint the wall after she installs, excuse me, to match the colors. Especially if we have a permission to make the wall a little higher, even though it's a continuation of the existing separating wall, it's going to look different. So it's going to be higher, so it's going to stand out. It's going to be aligned with pergola. If you were to visit the site, you would see that, once again, the way the pergola leads the way to that wall, it sort of separates that chunk of the wall visually and kind of like takes it in, ties it in with the whole visual experience. And so that part of the wall is going to be different height. It's going to be, once again, geometrically aligned with the pergola and the whole way that the pergola creates to it. And it's going to be painted differently. So even though, I guess, it's a continuation of the existing separation wall now, but once we're done, it's going to be a wall within itself, let's say. It's going to be a different, it's going to stand out as a different element. Even though, it kind of continues the same line, but it's going to really stand out with the color, the height, and implementation and finish.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
You
Commissioner Tu, any further question?
no, I don't. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Saylor?
Just to confirm, the pergola and the proposed artwork today combined is the art component?
This is how we see it.
Okay, so the pergola is public space. It's not designated seating for the tenants. Is that correct?
It is public space, exactly. Because once David, once again, correct me if I'm wrong, but once the fence is removed, it's actually aligned with a sidewalk. So the access to the pergola, you access the pergola from any angle of the street. So it is available and is there for the public use.
Okay.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. The original intention for that specific area to the east of the building was to provide for outdoor seating for the restaurants. And again, I might respectfully remind the commissioners that each one of these tenant spaces was originally approved for restaurant use. So all of this area was intended for outdoor dining. And again, to provide you a brief review from the last meeting, the suggestion by then staff was that if we did the pergola, it would maybe solve two options here. One is to provide for a filtered overhead area from the sun, as well as maybe addressing the public art requirement. So at the direction of the Design Review Commission, at the last meeting, to paraphrase your suggestion, is that this was not public art, but a great place to have to provide for public art. And certainly that's when I reached out to Irina. So again, I hope I've answered your question. This is outdoor space. It is public open space area.
Thank you. Yeah, so my comment to what's being proposed today is that just based on the selection of the location for this highlight component of the public art piece, it does seem like the backdrop is challenging. And so you're introducing the component that's intended to catch people's eye and kind of lead them to understand the design of the outdoor space. I think having it done in relief work with shadows and recesses doesn't necessarily make it pop out with the liquor store behind it with the red trim and all that. So I think something needs to be done to make this artwork pop out a bit, just to make the background recess more. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Saylor. Commissioner Nadoni?
Yes, I have a few comments. A question is, the distance between the columns, the last columns of the pergola and the wall. Do we know what that distance is?
I believe, as far as I know, I'm sorry, David, are you ready to answer?
Commissioner, I'm suggesting that's probably somewhere between maybe 10 or 12 feet.
So within 10 or 12 feet, and you're saying that the lighting from the pergola is going to help illuminate that wall and that artwork?
That's not exactly what I was saying. The lighting on top of the pergola is gonna lead the way. We're gonna direct it in a way that it's sort of mimicking the pathway and directing the people to the art wall, but the art wall is gonna have its own lighting installed at the bottom of the wall and directed directly at the tiles. So 2 components of the lighting is part of our plan.
Okay, well, that's good. That's good to hear. Now, as part of that wall, you have planting there. And at what distance is that planting away from the wall?
I believe the planting is decorational. The artist was using her imagination to imagine how the final look of the artwork, of the art wall will look like. We did not commit to planting any particular plants there just yet. She was just being an artist.
The photograph that I'm looking at is part of the package that was sent to the city. It looks like there's planting against that wall.
Oh, you're looking at the photograph. Okay. I believe that we can either leave it or not, as far as I understand. I'm pretty sure if we have a higher wall, it will not intersect and obstruct the artwork. And once again, it probably adds a little bit to the scene. But if you feel that there is a certain obstruction, which I don't believe, the artwork would not be at that level. The artwork will most likely be placed around the eye level. So for now, yes, I guess this is what's growing there, but I don't think it's, it's a major component.
May I offer a little bit of a comment here? Commissioner Nadolny, I would just respectfully remind you that the landscape plan for this particular property was something that was approved by the city. So when the additional component of adding something new in order to satisfy the public art component was added, we certainly didn't intend to modify or change those conditions or meeting those conditions of approval based on the landscape plan. So that's in part why we're necessarily suggesting if we could, just within the width of the columns of the pergolas, if we're standing looking east toward that wall, if we could increase the height of the wall to elevate the attachment of this particular art component at a higher level, we wouldn't need to change any of the landscape component. We would then just be raising the view, the elevation of the component itself, if that makes sense.
Well, how would you, first, a couple of questions on that. How would you increase that existing wall, number one? And number two, why wouldn't you just build a new wall in front of it and maybe try and capture, as you're talking about, capture the view down the pergola with a somewhat of a curved wall in front of that existing barrier wall? It's a property wall. Let's all admit that it's there because it's on the property line, and that's one of the reasons why I'm sure it's been landscaped, so you just don't see just a blank wall. So if you're asking the commission and the city to help you by increasing the height of that wall, why wouldn't you just build another wall?
Because of the budget. Because just the production of those tiles and installing them on the existing wall is already way more than the developer was, hoping to dedicate to the public art component in addition to pergola. So building a new wall would be much more expensive.
How would you achieve adding the additional, whatever, foot and a half that you want to add onto that wall?
The wall is constructed of blocks, concrete blocks, as far as cement blocks. So it would be just another layer or two, or another row or two of the blocks, but also the wall would be finished after that. So the final finish of this part of the wall, and if you can see on slide number 3 on the middle picture, the wall is, there is already natural separation. There is that part of the wall, it's along a separate part. So we would just build it up with a couple more rows of these blocks, excuse me, and with the finish that we would apply after all, it's going to look different. So as I said, physically it's the continuation of a separation wall, but visually it's going to look completely different.
I think I'm sure that wall was built with a certain footing dimension based on the height of the wall. So you may have an issue, you may not, by adding 2 or 3 more courses of block on top of that, which is why I would suggest, maybe don't use that wall, but build, if it's a wall, or create something else visually that is not a part of that wall. So I realize that it's a cost issue, but this is something that that the city's requiring. It's part of the what the developer should understand, that is part of their budget. So I'm not sure how well this is going to work. I don't feel comfortable that you've quite figured it completely out. So those are my comments.
Thank you.
Vice Chair Rama, your comment.
I have a couple of comments. And the first is a question. In the picture on page 2, there looks like there is a car that is parked in front of the wall. And since there are bollards there, is it the intention, since we don't have a clear site plan, that would be an area where cars would be parked in front of the proposed art area?
Vice Chair Romo, what you're looking at is actually the parking lot. We're standing facing east.
So if are cars intended to park in front of the proposed wall?
That is correct, but
Okay.
but not in the area where where we're intending on placing the public art. The public art is going to be placed between the columns, at the end of the columns, against that wall.
So we don't have a picture of how that looks. So we have bollards but no cars, and that's where the confusion is.
Vice Chair Romo, if you look at same slide number 3, if you look at the picture on the right, and I know it's a little further away, but you can see those bollards. They're aligned with columns. So the columns and bollards, they form this straight line that is separate to the side of a parking lot. So there is no way the car could squeeze in, because that's not how it's intended. The whole pergola and the wall form a line that is framing the parking lot in a way, but also separating the parking lot from the sidewalk. So the sidewalk is blocked.
So there would be no cars that would be
cars
parked in front of the public art. So
nope.
the picture on page 2 is not clear at all as to where the area of the public art is. Is that correct? The true picture is what we're seeing here on slide 3.
Once again, it's just very small here. But if you look at the picture on the right, on the very right, you can see those same ballers that are visible on the middle picture, and you can see that they're actually right in front of the columns of pergola. So they form the same row, the same line. That one. So there is no car, like it's away from the cars. It's to the right, let's say, I'm sorry, to the left from the parking lot, if you're looking facing that picture.
Okay, and so I think for any future public art presentations, having a clear site plan is vital for us to really evaluate the location. And that's something that, and I think that's why there's a lot of confusion and a lot of questions here today. And then the one thing that I'm very concerned about, and this, you even said it yourself, Mr. Gutierrez, is that at our last meeting, the commission said that the pergola was not considered public art. And this was even though the commission heard your presentation where you had information about former staff members saying that the pergola would be a potential area for public art. And we all concluded that it was not public art. So therefore, when you're looking at submitting a budget of $20,000 for public art, and the actual 1% is much greater than that, the pergola, even though it was over 57,000, none of that should be affiliated with the public art itself. You wouldn't, when we looked at the project on Valley Boulevard, you wouldn't consider the construction of the wall that's going to have the leaves and the lighting that's going to go up the height of the building, and you wouldn't consider that cost of the wall to be part of the public art. So the public art in itself, those true costs are what make up that 1%. As far as the concept is concerned, I do like the concept itself. I think having the relief tile work definitely add to the project. I think they're interesting, and it adds back to the native California flora and the is a homage to the indigenous people who were here, the Tongva people who filled the San Gabriel Valley. I do think that is an interesting concept, but I also agree with the commissioner's statements that there needs to be some type of a boundary or border or something, especially now knowing that it's not the entire wall, it's just a portion of the wall that needs to be, that's going to have these relief tile work. So I think that's something that definitely needs to be considered, and looking at the placement, since there's not going to be cars in front of it, I think that the wall height is something that is maybe doesn't need to be expanded on, but I am concerned about the landscaping, because the landscaping can easily cover that if it's not maintained. So since I was not on the commission when this project was first adopted, I do not know what the landscape plan is. And as this project moves further, having details on what the planting materials are and their maximum height, because the maintenance of the plant materials, if it's low shrubs and low greenery, that's fine, but that's something that potentially would need to be amended by staff or the commission as this project moves forward. One of the things with the public art is that it is a dedicated fund, and it's not the building fund. So that's something that, for example, in the city of Pasadena, at this point in the project, you know, when you go through the original project submittal, you either have your plan, or you put that money in a city fund, so that 1% for public art is definitely considered 100% for public art. So once again, the pergola, in my mind, is not a part of the public art. So the cost for the pergola shouldn't be considered as part of the public art. The public art should encompass the entire amount, that 1% of construction. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Noted. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
Chairman Chang, may I respond to that?
Yeah, please, go ahead, Mr. Gutierrez.
Okay, so a couple of items, and although I appreciate Vice Chair's comments, it's my understanding that the 1% is not a mandate. 1% is a recommendation. So once again, going back to the last commission meeting, where I suggested that that previous staff, that unfortunately is no longer a part of the city, had suggested that the pergola that was an addition to the original plans that were approved for this project could be considered as public art. There was nothing in writing. There was nothing that was suggested that it was an absolute. It was a suggestion on their part that it could be considered. With that, the development team, certainly the developer at the helm, suggested that we move forward with this, and knowing that the public art component was a necessity, and also understanding that the 1% was not a mandate, that it was a suggestion, did enhance the outside dining area by providing this pergola. So given the comments that we received, that I received at the last commission meeting, is suggesting that the commission unanimously opined that the pergola was not public art, but was a perfect place for public art to happen. We ran with that, and then provided the consideration for placing the public art at the end of the pergola, that when people were outside dining, whether day or night, they were able to view the public art against that wall. Now, realizing that we had a limited backdrop, let's call it, for placing that public art against that wall, the development team suggested that maybe by providing a higher elevation within the boundaries of those columns. We're not talking about asking for an increase of height for the entire run of the wall from the public right-of-way of the sidewalk against Valley Boulevard all the way to going south along that parking area. We're only asking for consideration of an option of increasing the height of that public wall, just to provide the foundation for support of placing these tiles, so that as people are sitting in that area, the public dining area, outside dining area, that they're able to look over. And again, whether day or night, most probably more evident at night with the spotlight, that we could then provide for them to appreciate this art component.
Yes, Vice Chair.
So I'd like to ask staff to read what is the requirement on the public art. The way I interpret the information from the Valley Vision is that the 1% is a requirement such, just like in the Mission District, and that is the goal for development. Can you clarify that?
Vice Chair, I have that paragraph in front of me. Would you like me to read it from
I
the
would
Valley
like to
Boulevard
have
specific
staff-
plan?
I would like to have
Oh,
staff.
I'm
read it.
sorry. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I couldn't hear it. Mhm.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Romo. This is Associate Planner Alvarado. Let me actually, I'm pulling up the Valley Boulevard specific plan right now, as well as the conditions of approval for the project when it was originally approved by the Design Review Commission. Give me 1 second. Okay, so as far as the condition of approval, there is a condition of approval for the original approval of the project that says the applicant shall install public art on the site or on the adjacent public right-of-way, or alternatively shall contribute an amount equal to 1% of the project cost to the city for purposes of developing public art. Then it goes on further to say all proposed public art shall be reviewed and approved by the Design Review Commission. Valley Boulevard specific plan, it refers to the Mission District specific plan. Let me actually find that exact location.
So it was a part of the conditional of approval. And what I have, it's on page 154.
Yes, 154. So it does say city policy within Mission District requires 1% of project costs be allocated for public art and public art programs to assist developers and city departments. The goal of this sustainability plan is to establish similar requirements and encourage the creation of the best public art. Then it goes on to provide a quote, and it provides 7 policies. The following policies for implementing public art, which discuss these 7 policies don't mention the 1%, but it does mention the fact that, as with everything in the built environment, quality design is best. Hire experienced artists and ensure that the arts professionals lead artist selection panels, which include community members as well as artist peers. There should not be one approach or one kind of public art. In fact, diversity in artist expression and approaches makes for richer communities. A diverse public appreciate the diversity of art and artists. Encourage art/designer collaborations by ensuring that artists are included in the early stages of project planning and design, so that the artwork is not an afterthought or something separate from the project itself. Make art accessible to the public and engaging. Place public art in places that are truly public, not limited in hours or access. Ensure that public art is engaging and makes sense on a formal or conceptual level. Encourage temporary as well as permanent public artwork that is temporary does not become fixed and static. It can change and create new opportunities for expression. Temporary art can often be created by artists who are new to public art and thus create opportunities for a larger group of artists. Create unique places through art. Alleys, parking lots, vacant lots, or walkways are examples of places that are often wholly undistinguished. Artwork can enliven these overlooked zones. And the last one is public art can tell complex stories about communities and their histories. These reinforce community identity, create unique places, and provide a basis for community pride and ownership. And I think that's the last of them. Yeah, that's the last of the policies. And like I mentioned, the actual condition of approval for the project says they have to provide public art, or they would have to contribute an amount equal to 1% to the project cost for the city for the purpose of developing public art.
So public art is a requirement for this project. I just want to make sure that that is something that all the commissioners understand, because the only 2 commissioners who originally approved this project were Chairman Chang and Commissioner Nadoli. So that's something that we need to really understand as we're evaluating what's presented here before us. Thank you.
Thank
So,
you,
so just for clarification, from staff, so we, and this is something that I think Anthony and I discussed early on with this, and it was my understanding based on what you explained, Anthony, that, and I did understand that we have the option of providing on-site public art or contributing 1% of the value of the project to be used as public art in a different location, but that did not mandate that the 1% had to be spent within the project itself.
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. Yeah, according to the condition of approval, it says that either providing the public art on the site or the adjacent public right of way, or alternatively provide the 1% or contribute the amount equal to 1% to the project cost to the city for purposes. So it is alternatively, according to the condition of approval.
Right. So I think that's very important. So again, it's not that we're bound by the 1% on the project if we choose to provide for on-site public art.
I guess if based on what we heard, yeah, you have the option. The applicant has the option to either provide it on site or set aside that 1% for public art improvement purpose for the city. So there's an option. So let me just kind of share with you my thought, and then I'll ask the architect to maybe comment on this too. I like the concept of the artist. I think it works in theory. What it doesn't work at this point is that it's not clearly identified exactly how we're going to designate that portion of that 16 feet by maybe 7 or 8 feet wall to be the focal point of the artwork. I think somehow the artist may need to work with somebody that understands the constructability of that wall. How do you raise it? Whether you want to put a review around it, whether you want to beef up on the side to separate that art wall out of the parking lot wall. So you can make it higher, you can separate it with some kind of review or pop out a portion of it to make that art wall stand out. So when you walk down the pergola, you see that is part of the visual focal point. And I think if we can do that, it will probably work. I'm sure the artist is qualified to come up with the correct tile work to make it interesting. The landscaping portion, it's already above some planter. You just need to look at what's out there and what actually should be there to enhance the proposed art wall. So with the correct lighting, I think that will do the job. And of course, you always have the option of paying the money and don't do anything. But I think by doing it correctly, it will actually help the project, and it will help that pathway of the pergola for outdoor dining, for them to sit and visually see something at the end of the vision corridor. I think would be the right thing to do. So that's my the only thing that kind of concerns me is because the site plan and your attachment A and your sheet number 6, I don't think the dimension correspond to each other. So there's no way that we can understand exactly where it goes. I'm looking at sheet number 6 of attachment A from the package. Your red portion of the wall is almost right next to the end of the column, which is incorrect. So that's confusing. And we look at the floor plan, it's confusing. Look at your picture, it's also confusing. So I think the artists need to actually understand where it goes. Take a picture of how you see from the pergola side, you see the end of the pergola, and how far is it to the art wall, and how much landscaping under there. I think that is critical to before you come and present your final product. We need to understand that. So,
Okay.
okay.
Thank
so
you.
That said, maybe I'll ask the city architect to give his feeling on this presentation. Ron, you're on mute.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you, Chairman Chang. So when I looked at the package, I also was confused as to where the art wall was. So I understand a little bit more now. I completely agree that the wall needs to be taller, 5'6" with planting in front. The artwork is going to be just such a minimal area. So if the wall could be taller, that will help. It will help block out the visual noise of the building next door. I have a question. Is the surface on which the tiles to be applied, is that a stucco surface, or is that exposed CMU block painted? Because maybe if it's supposed to be painted, maybe that portion could be stuccoed to distinguish it from the rest of the wall.
Right now, it's just painted blocks, and yes, we are considering applying stucco, so it will look much better.
So that may be the way to end the art piece, that you go to painted block for the remainder of the wall.
That I guess that's what I meant when I said that, you know, we'll visually make sure to separate it from the rest of the wall, because it's going to be finished differently and then painted. And by finished, I meant the opportunity to have it stuccoed.
Okay. Well, that's all I have. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion. I think that art wall need to have a different surface with the perimeter parking lot wall, and I think stucco are probably the cheapest way to you're gonna have to set it in some kind of stucco to make that artwork come out correctly anyway. So that's something your artist and will need to work with some designer and architect to come up with the correct detail, correct height, correct structural element to make sure that wall, that art wall is I think you hear all the comments from the commissioners and the city architect, and more questions, Arena or David?
No, I just, Chairman Chang, and certainly appreciate all of the time and effort that you and your commissioners are putting toward this. But I just also wanted to say that with regard to the landscape area, the approved conditions of approval required 27,700 square feet times 10 to equate to 2,775 square feet of landscape area. We're actually providing 3,136 square feet. It's 1.3% more. So if at the end of the day, we took this area that was landscaped in between the columns that's in front of the wall and completely removed it, we'd still be within compliance of the conditions of approval with regard to landscape.
Yeah, no, I follow you on percentage basis, but I think some of the comments made was that if we are going to create an art wall, if we are going to create something beautiful, I think we would much rather see some good landscape footing to make it look beautiful, make the art look beautiful. So that I think that 1% is a very good guideline, but again, if 1% of a art piece may worth 10 times as much visually if it's done correctly. So I think that's what the commissioners are looking to do, is to help the city to provide the most beautiful. I mean, the building is beautiful. So far, everything is done is so beautiful. So I think the owner will probably benefit by having something to further enhance his property. I mean, that would be my personal suggestion.
No, and I absolutely agree with you, Chairman. And I think that's our objective as well. So if certainly the commission finds it within their choice to provide us an opportunity to continue to work with staff to maybe look at this particular area and providing some suggestions on how to increase the size of the wall, to move the art component to a higher level to better spotlight it, as Irina had suggested earlier in her presentation. This I think will solve all of the concerns.
Thank you. I think that would be the right direction to go. I appreciate that. Irina, you got everything that the commissioner had?
That's all from me, and thank you very much for your comments and your attention to details. It's all noted and will be taken into account when we present the final art plan.
Thank you very, very much. Appreciate that. Okay, that concluded this portion of the hearing. I think that finished up the public side of it. And now we'll move on to item number 5, comment from the panel. Samantha, anything for us?
No, but just really briefly, according to state regulations, virtual meetings will continue into the month of September. So for now, we will remain virtual at least until September.
Yeah, I think so. Seeing how the curve is going, I just studied the last week's curve. We're back to April 2020 last year. The curve is going back up again, and it's not looking good. So it's getting very difficult. So looks like that we're going to be doing this for a little bit while longer. That we hope to get back and see each other. So thank you, appreciate that. Any other comment from? Okay, then we'll move on to item number 6, commissioner comment and any conference meeting reports. Yes, Vice Chair Rama. You're on mute.
Yes, thank you. My comment after our meeting last month and our discussion on porches and front and back and FAR, it occurred to me that that's not in the city's best interest because it takes away character, because someone is going to want to build the maximum regardless. And they're going to make excuses to take away these things that add character to the front and back. And you look at livability, you look at sustainability. And before air conditioning was available, the porches provided relief from the heat. And as we look at global warming issues, I think there's a need to look at rewarding people to retain porches and build porches and not having that as part of the total FAR. In the city of Temple City, they actually do this. So this is something that is out there as far as city planning is concerned. And I think, I don't know what needs to be done, but I'm recommending that it's something that might be looked at by staff if other commissioners concur, and if staff can have this. I know, Ron, you're looking at historic properties in the city and ways to retain them, but I think that might be a tool for the city here in San Gabriel. Thank you. That's my comment.
Very good comment. Some other surrounding city, neighboring city are not counting FAR if the porch or pergolas are over 50% opening, meaning that they are just for sunshade only and they do not provide livable area. So that way you encourage additional shading and help the environment. I don't know, this will be something going to the planning commission for reconsideration or going to city council. But I also personally feel that if these additional cover porches, that may, now we're counting that as 100% buildable area. Maybe we can look at counting that as 50% of the livable space for those cover porches and surrounding. That way, at least they got relief on those areas to encourage them to consider using 50% of the coverage on that. So I see the hand raised on Ron. Maybe you got some better ideas.
No, I think that's a good idea, but also there might be like, say, some calculation like 5% of the house area you can have as a free pergola, something like that.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, right. At least you encourage 5%. The larger home, you get a larger pergola. That makes sense too. Okay, so I think these are good suggestions, and maybe staff can take it back and then consider that in the right time. We can maybe the next cycle when we look at the code section, we can recommend it to City Council for approval. I think it will help the environment and help our citizens overall. Great. Any other comments from anybody? I just want to hear from Lawyer how you doing in China and how is that? 1 minute. Tell us how you're doing. Is everything okay there?
Yes, I'm doing.
But
Yeah, I've been traveling a lot, and I stay here over like 6 weeks already. So I plan to go back by the end of September.
I see. How's the COVID situation there? Is it okay or?
As far as I know, I mean, they just like control it, like they just zero tolerance about cases. Whenever there's one case emerge, they shut down the neighborhood and then they do tests on everybody. So yeah, and it's controlled locally. So over all the country, I mean, they have hundreds of cases every day in a 14 billion population. So yeah, but a lot of travel restrictions. So your local jurisdiction just placed the restriction for traveling. So pretty much it's like pretty slow here.
I see. Okay. Well, good to know. Just be careful. Looking for you to come back.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you. Any other
I
comments?
do have a comment about that porch. I mean, I work on project in Newport Beach, and also like the porch there, they also have a rule that when there's two sides open, then it doesn't count as the floor area, doesn't count as FAR. So it helps the designer and the builder to create those outdoor living spaces, and that is pretty nice, added value to the homeowner. I thought that was a really good recommendation by everybody here. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. So yeah, so staff can take that into consideration and then study that and make your recommendation. Very good. Anybody else? Okay, I thought it was a short meeting. Somehow we took into the 9 o'clock hours. So we will adjourn the meeting to our regular meeting of design review on Monday, September 27 at 6:30. And again, we'll be on Zoom again. So I want to thank you all for joining, and I know we appreciate all your effort and time and the diligence and working on it. So thank you very much. It's always good to see you all virtually. If not, we'll see you in September. Have a good night. Thank you.